The Ashes rocked by a COVID scare. 4 members of the England touring party test positive. The Boxing Day test on a knife's edge. Plus, the Andrews government defends testing wait times as Victorians face new travel rules. Sydney records the nation's first death linked to the Omicron variant. A police plea after 4 people are killed in a tragic 24 hours on Victoria's roads. More than a quarter of the field forced out of a wild Sydney Hobart. And how a Hollywood star finally got revenge over Barnaby Joyce.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Mike Amor starts now.
Good evening. The Ashes has been rocked by a COVID scare with the entire England squad to undergo testing at the team hotel later tonight. Play was delayed this morning after 4 members of the touring party tested positive as the fate of the Boxing Day test hangs in the balance.
The English team was about to leave for the MCG when they got the shocking news.
2 support staff and 2 of their family members have tested positive under a rapid antigen test.
Back inside their hotel, quick action.
The entire England touring party took rapid antigen tests, and which have all come back negative.
Then they could go to the ground, arriving just half an hour before the scheduled start time.
Certainly the medical advisors, and on the basis of this morning's precaution, they felt it was appropriate that we continue with the match.
But the teams warmed up apart. The light-hearted Aussies in the nets, the English on the ground itself. Also, those carrying out drinks wore PPE gloves.
Everyone is now on high alert. Everyone is being extra cautious.
Tonight, all the English squad will do full PCR tests. If any test positive, the match, the series, could be jeopardised.
We just need to kind of remain calm, get the facts. Everyone needs to follow the medical advice. And on that basis, we keep going.
Also today, drama for the 7 broadcast team.
Now, if you're wondering what on earth we're all doing here today, as with the community, well, COVID has had quite a significant effect.
A replacement panel after a member of the original commentary team tested positive. A dozen people, including legends Ricky Ponting and Ian Botham, had to test and isolate, unable to broadcast.
The whole community is going through this right now, and this is how you adjust when you're deemed a close contact. We're taking a very conservative approach.
They returned to their mics after testing negative this afternoon. The game started half an hour late. Crowds so far down on predictions.
Well, I think a lot of people stayed away yesterday. Because what's happening in New South Wales and all that, everyone's getting a bit scared.
I feel very safe. We're all been double vaccinated. Life has to go on.
But health experts say allowing patrons not to wear masks in seats is very risky.
I would really recommend people wear masks all the time that they're there.
I expect to see case numbers skyrocketing over the next few days because of the Ashes.
And we now have a crowd figure for today, 42,626. Now, for perspective, the last time there was an Ashes test here at the MCG in 2017, pre-COVID of course, the crowd on the second day was around 68,000. Despite the escalating COVID crisis in Sydney, Cricket Australia said today at this stage it has no plans whatsoever to move the test from there. If that changes, of course, the logical place to host it would be here at the MCG because all the players are already in Melbourne. And tonight, the cricketing world will be collectively holding its breath as the English players do their full PCR tests when they arrive back at their hotel. Mike?
Nick McCallum live at the MCG. Thank you. The Andrews government is defending wait times for COVID test results, claiming most are back within a day. But there's little relief in sight for under-the-pump laboratories, despite new rules for Victorians travelling interstate.
Melbourne's morning queues now a daily routine. From Albert Park to Brighton, hours long for a test. 57,000 were completed yesterday, down 14,000 on the day before. At the showgrounds, the wait dropping to just half an hour around lunchtime. 7 News is also aware of people into their 5th day waiting for the result.
well, you say 5 days. What I said to you is that there's 84% of people that have turned up for testing in this last week have received their results within 24 hours.
Almost 2,000 positive cases were notified yesterday. Queensland will soon stop making tourists get a day 5 test after arriving.
We are doing some work about whether or not that could be a rapid antigen test.
But PCR tests prior to arrival remain, at least until next year, keeping laboratories busy and possibly turning away genuine COVID cases.
They get sick to the teeth of waiting, and even if they do get tested, they're waiting a long, long time for the test results.
Free rapid tests are available at state-run test sites for workplace, education and childcare contacts. The state government was asked how many rapid tests it has ordered to make them free to more Victorians.
I think we can. Is that right, or not sure? You don't know? We'll see. Government is not making or not in a position to make any comments on the expansion of rapid testing.
There are no plans for test sites to stay open overnight. South Australia has clarified arrivals do need to test after yesterday announcing they didn't. Those returning to Adelaide today expecting the unexpected.
We're worrying sometimes. We weren't sure whether they were going to get over here at first, whether they're going to change the rules at the last minute.
Here's the lay of the land for Victorians wanting to travel interstate. New South Wales and the ACT have no testing or declaration requirements. South Australia requires a rapid or PCR test before you go and a border declaration, but no test on arrival. Queensland, at least for now, plus Tasmania and the NT, insist on a PCR test before you go, a border declaration, plus tests on arrival. Nobody's allowed into WA.
It really is about time the federal government stepped in and took control of this.
Victoria has 368 COVID patients in hospital, down slightly. 3 Victorians with the disease have died, aged in their 70s, 80s and 90s. Picking the quietest part of the day to get a PCR test is a tricky art. Certainly the morning and the evening are particularly busy. The middle of the day seems to be the best bet. This South Melbourne test site, for some reason, closing almost an hour early tonight. A whole row of cars and their drivers just turned away. The state government says testing sites and pathology labs should have a full roster of staff back today after the Christmas break. But until those pre-departure PCR tests for interstate travel are dropped by other states and territories, it seems that demand will remain. Mike?
Blake Johnson, thank you. Sydney has recorded the nation's first Omicron death as the state's testing clinics buckle under the pressure. Almost 1,000 people are in COVID limbo tonight, wrongly told they'd tested negative to the virus.
When Liam Spagnolo endured this,
Head back.
Oh, I'm going to sneeze. It was to do the right thing. He expected the pathology company would return the favour.
Well, I went to the gym today as well because I thought I was in the clear. I went to Bondi Westfields to do my Christmas shopping.
Liam is among 995 people in New South Wales told they're negative when in fact their results are still being processed.
Here I am calling all my relatives, my best friends. It's a Christmas miracle. I'm negative.
The same company, Sidpath, is responsible for another embarrassing bungle revealed yesterday. 400 more told they were negative, but they were positive.
It means that they've been in the community and hundreds more will have been infected as a consequence.
Also in New South Wales, Australia's first death with Omicron, a double vaccinated man in his 80s who had pre-existing health conditions. The state had 6,324 new cases, their second worst day, behind yesterday. Hospital admissions have more than tripled in the past fortnight, and testing queues again so long some were forced to close.
I need to get tested to get back to work.
To slow Omicron, rule changes there include a return to compulsory QR check-ins and hospitality density limits. South Australia, 842 new cases, a rapid surge in the 27 days since the outbreak there began. In Queensland, 784 new positives, its highest ever daily figure. 74% of the new cases are Omicron. Tasmania recorded 35 new cases, and in Western Australia, just one new case and now 19 active cases prompted restrictions to be extended until next Tuesday, meaning on New Year's Eve, nightclubs will be closed and music festivals cancelled.
This gives us the best chance to potentially eliminate this outbreak in our community.
Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
4 people have been killed in a tragic 24 hours on Victorian roads. Details are just coming through to Paul Dowsley in the newsroom. Paul, it sparked a plea from police.
Mike, they are begging Victorians to slow down on our roads after 2 women were killed in a head-on collision near Stawell this morning. One of the victims is in her 30s from Melbourne's west. The second from the other car was in her 70s from South Australia. 3 others, including a 3-year-old toddler, were flown by air ambulance to hospital. They are all in a stable condition.
Obviously, it's a busy time now after Christmas with people returning to Victoria and also to holidays in South Australia. So obviously the increased traffic on the roads does make an impact, and we encourage people to definitely slow down and pay attention and take frequent breaks where they can.
This morning's tragedy came just 12 hours after 2 men in their 30s from Yarrawonga died in a single vehicle crash at Chiltern in the state's northeast. So far, police have found almost 800 drink and drug affected drivers in a 10-day Christmas road safety blitz. Mike?
Paul, thank you. Detectives are closing in on cruel thieves who stole 4 training vans from Guide Dogs Victoria. 3 of the 4 vans have now been recovered after they were pinched from the charity's Kew headquarters on Christmas night. Officers uncovered one of the vehicles this morning, dumped at a Wilson car park in Southbank. Blind Victorians on the wait list for a dog could still face delays because of the theft. The Queen has led tributes to Archbishop Desmond Tutu, remembering a man who tirelessly championed human rights. The Nobel Peace Prize winner, known for his compassion and relentless courage in the fight against apartheid, died at the age of 90, leaving a shining legacy of forgiveness.
Mourners gather outside a Cape Town cathedral where Archbishop Desmond Tutu months earlier made one of his last public appearances, celebrating his 90th birthday.
Happy birthday, we're so blessed to be here with you.
He dedicated his life lobbying for equal rights.
Black and white together!
And campaigning for dignity.
Our arch was a shining light for justice and compassion and kindness throughout our country and across the world.
Ordained at 30 and appointed Archbishop in 1986, his tireless work in resolving and abolishing apartheid saw him awarded the 1984 Nobel Peace Prize.
Apartheid is as evil, as immoral, as unchristian in my view as Nazism.
Outspoken.
He challenged the systems that demeaned humanity.
Short in stature, but with a giant heart. The human rights activist housed Nelson Mandela after his release from prison and welcomed the Sussexes on their 2019 royal tour. In retirement, reflection of his remarkable life.
I've had a very great privilege of being part of a liberation struggle which has succeeded.
Barack Obama remembering him as a moral compass. Scott Morrison saying his deep faith made the world a better place.
My sisters and brothers, good day.
Desmond Tutu visited Australia twice in the 90s, raising the issue of Indigenous racism.
In this country, it has been recognised as a problem and people are seeking a remedy.
He even backed Australia's bid for the Soccer World Cup.
Thank you, sister.
Pleasure. The father of 4 battled prostate cancer for more than a decade, crediting his life success to wife Leah. They renewed their vows for their 60th wedding anniversary. Never too shy to have fun, with an infectious cackle. His trademark, but his legacy, peace and kindness is what the anti-apartheid hero will be best remembered for. In London, Tegan Dolling, 7 News.
More than a quarter of an already battered Sydney Hobart fleet has been forced to pull out of the race because of savage weather conditions. Big seas and southerly winds have smashed sails, rigging and equipment, but the depleted fleet of 56 yachts is powering on, with Blackjack currently in the lead.
An early return. Sydney Hobart contenders retired from the race after a rough night at sea, battered by big swells and wiped out by wild winds.
And then another front with 30 knots came through. All our electrics cut out, and so we lost all our light. And the helmsman got a bit disoriented.
Enchantress, one of at least 30 yachts forced to pull the pin.
put a lot of time and effort into it, and then to get that's pretty disappointing, but that's sailing, isn't it?
The tough southerly conditions claiming a quarter of the fleet in the first night.
We've got a lot of torn mainsails mainly and some rigging damage.
2018 overall winner and well-placed Alive also forced to turn back after damage to its hull saw the yacht take on water, with conditions also taking a toll on crew. A broken arm suffered on board No Limit, the Cruising Yacht Club Commodore calling the tough contest a true Sydney Hobart.
We've been waiting for a tough Hobart race. We've had pretty easy ones in the last few years. This feels more like a traditional Hobart where you could really tick the box.
After a bumpy start, HK Scallywag 100 sped ahead, gaining ground throughout the night. Law Connect's lead stolen by Blackjack, with the mid-sized yachts also charging ahead and most of the two-handed fleet still hanging on. The front runners now through the worst of the weather, set to battle it out across the Bass Strait. The race still too close to call.
They're just back and forward on the leadership in the podium positions.
Amber Laidler, 7 News.
Let's head to the MCG for a look ahead to more sport with Andrew McCormack and Macca. England showed some fight today.
They did, Mike. They came clawing back to bowl the Aussies out before a brutal spell from Mitchell Starc, and Scott Boland put Australia back in the pole position, tearing through the England top order. At one stage, Starc was on a hat-trick. Also, new COVID protocols emerge for the A-League as victory shoots to the top of the table. Fists fly on the sideline as teammates square off in the NFL. Mike, I'll be back shortly to dissect a cracking day of Test cricket here. Is there still hope for England? We'll find out shortly.
I'm not sure. Thanks, Macca. Up next, riot police called in to break up a wild protest in Melbourne's north. Plus, how the new home builder scheme is backfiring by pushing housing prices up. The highway pile-up that stretched more than 100 kilometres. Why Meghan Markle received a front-page apology. And later, Hollywood star's ultimate revenge on Barnaby Joyce. Border Force staff in riot gear have been called to a wild protest at the Broadmeadows Detention Centre. Senior crime reporter Cameron Bowe has the details, and Cam, authorities lost control of part of the facility.
Mike, staff at 2 compounds in the centre were forced to retreat. Dozens of detainees in the high security section of the centre took over for several hours. A small number of them occupied rooms there as part of a protest against bans on visits due to concerns over COVID. Some detainees have refused to be vaccinated.
When you've been locked up for 2, 4, 5 years after committing a crime and doing the time, why would you trust the government?
Border Force staff responded to the situation in riot gear, backed up by police. After some angry words, the detainees returned to their lockups, Mike.
Cam, thank you. Victoria's construction industry might be booming, but the surge in new homes is putting cracks in the supply chain. It's forcing up the cost of essentials like steel and timber, creating a budget black hole for builders to fill.
Designed to keep tradies on the tools during the pandemic, the federal government's home builder scheme has exceeded all expectations.
The program has been a huge success.
Announced last June by the Prime Minister, the program got off to an awkward start.
Hey guys, I've just reseeded that.
But like the grass, it recovered and flourished. The $15,000 and $25,000 grants to build a new or substantially renovate an existing home helped reignite Australia's residential construction industry. Only 27,000 applications were expected, but nearly 138,000 were received. It cost $2.5 billion, but injected $120 billion into the economy, supporting almost 375,000 jobs.
I just don't think we expected in our wildest dreams it'd be that popular.
Victorian homeowners led the charge, with almost 40,000 applications. Queenslanders submitted close to 30,000. There were more than 20,000 in New South Wales and WA.
A great majority of these are first-home buyers.
But the success of the scheme has also led to some unintentional and some very expensive consequences, which no one predicted.
We saw quite sharp increases in the price of steel and timber.
Combined with a shortage of bricklayers and carpenters, the price of a new build has soared by as much as 30%.
A lot of work
But delays and price increases, they're really impacting on margins.
But experts say the pinch won't be felt by buyers in the long run. Rob Scott, 7 News.
At least 3 people have been hurt in a 20-car pile-up in Nevada. The crash happened in whiteout conditions south of Reno. The pile-up stretched more than 110 kilometres. The interstate remains closed in both directions as crews work to clear the heavy snow build-up. Meghan Markle has received a front-page apology after her landmark court victory. The Mail on Sunday acknowledged the ruling at the bottom of their Boxing Day edition. The court found that Associated newspapers infringe Meghan's copyright, publishing extracts of her handwritten letter to her father. It's understood the Duchess is set to receive a substantial settlement from the newspaper group. Sonia Marinelli joins us now with a look at the weather. And Sonia, it took a while to warm up.
It did, Mike. We're in that strange time of year between Christmas and New Year, and even the weather was feeling relaxed. From a low of 14, the mercury needed a strong coffee to kick into gear. When it did, we finally reached 23 degrees, and outside now, we're sitting on a mild 20. December has been cooler than normal. So far, our maximums have averaged just 23.5 degrees. But later in the week, we're expecting 4 days in a row over 30. The last time that happened was in November 2017. And authorities have just issued a severe heatwave alert. And I'll have those details after sport, Mike.
OK, see you then. Thanks, Sonia. 2 Melbourne fans jailed for going to the grand final have just been released. Live details next on 7 News. Plus, traffic gridlock as Victoria's coastal towns are flooded with summer tourists, and how a Hollywood star got the ultimate revenge on an Aussie politician. 2 rogue Demons fans jailed for sneaking into the grand final have been released from prison. Cassie Zervos is at Melbourne Airport with the breaking news. And Cassie, they've just arrived home.
Well, Mike, the jail duo landed in Melbourne just minutes ago after spending Christmas behind bars. Hayden Burbank and Mark Babbage were jailed for breaching WA border rules when they lied to officials so they could attend the AFL Grand Final. Both pleaded guilty and were sentenced to 10 months, but were today freed after their non-parole period of just 3. Burbank, the owner of popular Melbourne bar Morris Jones, and Babbage caused outrage when they celebrated with Melbourne players in the rooms after the game. Hayden Burbank spoke to us just moments ago.
Deeply sorry for our selfish and stupid decisions we made. Even though we were both double vaccinated before we left Melbourne, we both received a negative test result in Darwin before arriving in Perth. The time in jail has made us realise and understand the seriousness of our offending.
The saga isn't over for the Demons fans. They are now facing charges in Darwin and here in Victoria. Mike.
Cassie Zervos with that breaking news. Thank you. Coastal hotspots are heaving with tourists tonight, bringing overdue relief to struggling regional businesses. New research shows more and more Victorians are choosing to holiday in their own backyard instead of interstate.
Gridlock on the West Gate as holidaymakers head out of the city in droves. Crowds in coastal areas, a belated Christmas gift for tourism operators.
We're very full. It's fabulous to have everybody back.
Almost 80% of Victorians are choosing to holiday in their own backyard, according to the Tourism and Transport Forum. The pandemic creating too much uncertainty.
There wasn't really any desire to go interstate, just in case we couldn't get back.
Pam Thompson wouldn't have it any other way. She's been camping at the same site on the Mornington Peninsula for 45 years.
Well, Victoria's the top state, isn't it? I mean, why would you want to go to Queensland when you've got this?
Sites forced to open late due to storm damage are now full. The state's beaches are packed too.
It's been a great day so far, great turnout with lots of us on patrol. Very, very excited to be back down at the beach.
Demand for houses on the Mornington Peninsula is now so strong that people are paying hundreds of dollars more than they did before the pandemic. And guests are also opting to stay for longer as well.
Length of stay is way up this year. So we have some 3 and 4 week bookings, whereas in previous years, 1, maximum 2 would be what you would see.
Murray River towns are bursting with visitors, desperate for a taste of freedom.
You still got to get out and explore, as long as you're safe with masks and sanitising. It's great to get out and see the community.
And for our first summer fully vaccinated,
Operators now believe the worst is finally behind them.
People have a lot of money to spend in their own backyard. We're really confident that the summer period is going to be great for us.
Estelle Greeping, 7 News.
It's been 6 years since the scandal of Pistol and Boo, the celebrity dogs who sparked a biosecurity breach by flying into Australia. But the Hollywood actress involved seems determined to have the last laugh with a new taunt to Barnaby Joyce, who threatened to have her pets put down.
Hollywood actress Amber Heard's new adopted pride and joy is the plot twist no one saw coming.
Barnaby Joyce Heard, don't you scratch that glass one more time.
Named in honour of Barnaby the politician who crashed into her life back in 2015, threatening to destroy her and then husband Johnny Depp's dogs, Pistol and Boo.
Mr. Depp has to either take his dogs back to California or we're going to have to euthanize them.
The pair smuggled the pups into Australia on a private jet, sparking the now internationally known war on terriers.
Johnny Depp's dogs facing a death sentence in Australia.
Free Johnny Depp's dogs!
He gave them a death countdown.
The stars caved and flew them home. Amber Heard was fined but escaped jail time. But Barnaby still wanted an apology.
I am truly sorry that Pistol and Boo were not declared. Protecting Australia is important.
Declare everything when you enter Australia.
Since then, Heard and Depp have made headlines with their bitter divorce and are still locked in an ongoing legal battle. But in Australia, they're remembered for the very public clash, that awkward video, and it appears even 6 years on, Amber Heard hasn't quite let it go.
Barnaby Joyce Heard, don't you scratch that glass one more time.
Late today, Barnaby weighed in. I get a real sense of accomplishment that I'm still in her head long after I've forgotten about them, he said. And obviously, I now rate above Johnny Depp. In the United States, Smiley Hogan, 7 News.
Up next, the crackdown on salespeople conning Victorians into buying dodgy power plants. Plus, the moment a quick-thinking police officer saved a choking child. And Vegemite-flavoured hot cross buns dividing opinion. A crackdown on salespeople pushing dodgy power plans will come into force on Friday. Deceptive tactics like door-to-door sales and nuisance cold calls will be banned, as well as misleading offers. It's hoped to protect Victorian households from being taken advantage of.
Last-minute deals that look good on the outside but in effect aren't good deals at all.
New fines of up to $1 million will also be introduced to stamp out retailers who wrongfully disconnect a household. The intruder arrested in the grounds of Windsor Castle on Christmas Day was armed with a crossbow and, it's claimed, intended to assassinate the Queen. British police aren't treating it as a terror threat, but the 19-year-old man has been detained in a secure mental hospital.
The video obtained by London Sun newspaper shows a hooded man armed with a crossbow. He wears a hockey mask, his voice electronically distorted, but this is what he's saying. I'm sorry for what I've done and what I will do. I will attempt to assassinate Elizabeth, Queen of the royal family. A chilling threat.
The fact is, to get even anywhere close to the Queen armed with a crossbow is extremely concerning.
The man's been named as a 19-year-old from Southampton. That picture behind him is Star Wars villain Darth Malgus. The video was posted 24 minutes before police found the intruder at 8:30 on Christmas morning. He'd scaled the castle fence using a rope ladder and was detained under the Mental Health Act. The spot at the bottom of the long walk is at least half a kilometre from the Queen's apartments. The entire perimeter is carefully monitored with armed patrols and electronic surveillance. It's not clear whether the Queen was informed, but she made no public appearance, citing COVID concerns.
Well, COVID again means we can't celebrate quite as we may have wished.
Other royals, including Charles and Camilla, did attend church in St George's Chapel at Windsor Castle. Matthew Garstunen, 7 News.
An officer in the right place at the right time has helped save a child choking in the US. The 5-year-old girl's mum pulled into a gas station in Utah looking for help. A trooper and mechanic used the reverse Heimlich manoeuvre to successfully clear the food stuck in her airway. The girl's mum has been praised for her quick thinking. Now, it doesn't get much more Aussie than this. Coles has unveiled a new Vegemite-flavoured hot cross bun. The limited edition savoury snack is infused with Vegemite and Parmesan, finished off with a cheese topping. We're told it tastes similar to a Vegemite scroll, but a little sweeter and softer.
It's great for breakfast. Toasted with butter. Very tasty.
It's available in more than 700 stores across the country. Returning to the MCG for sport with Andrew McCormack. And Macca, what an hour of power from Aussie bowlers.
Oh, Mike, a stunning spell has England on the ropes, and a Victorian was front and centre. Mitchell Starc ripped through the England top order before Scotty Boland had the crowd on its feet here at the G with a starring performance to round out day 2. Plus, Victory's stunning turnaround continues with crosstown bagging rights and no festive cheer in the NFL as teammates turn on each other. Welcome back to the MCG, where Australia has stormed into the box seat after a stunning finish on day 2 of the third test. England bowled the Aussies out for 267 before Mitchell Starc and Victorian Scott Boland had the tourists well and truly on the ropes at stumps.
Late arrivals after emergency COVID tests, something finally sparked England.
Lion Edge is caught behind.
The night watchman done with, then the newly anointed #1 batsman in the world. Labuschagne for 1. Where was Mark Wood's extra pace in Adelaide? Steve Smith could have followed for 5, just out of Joss Butler's reach. Marcus Harris scratched his way to 36.
A shout and gone.
A review and tickle may have saved his career, but the English pacemen were finally on.
Smith's gone.
For 16, a masterful spell from the great Jimmy Anderson. Harris punched past his first 50 in 17 innings.
Today the clock.
But England kept pressing.
Just like that.
Travis Head for 27, then Harris for 76, still without a ton in 13 tests.
And there's another one!
All's well with the skipper and his sultan of swing and seam.
They can sense the moment.
Battles raged, both sides of the fence.
Big appeal, wickets!
Green and Carey went after nudging Australia ahead, but the 34-run Cummins-Starc stand was so priceless.
Oh, Jimmy Anderson!
England couldn't quite grasp their big chance. Anderson took 4 for 33, maybe his best day in 5 tours here, all out for 267.
There's the edge, and another take.
A lead of 82, maybe even enough.
Crawley stands, he's given.
Stark reality, Crawley gone, next ball, Milan.
Oh, good shout! Starc will be on a hat-trick.
Substandard batting against 2 of the great new ball bowlers. Joe Root survived the hat-trick ball, an electric end to a day that finally felt like a real Ashes test.
Yes, there is. Boland joins the party.
But 2 in 3 balls to the local hero.
Left it. No edge.
Left England right on the brink again. Matt Carmichael, 7 News.
I'm joined now by 7 cricket expert Greg Blewett. And Bluey, thanks for joining us here on 7 News. Wow, what a cracking day of Test cricket. But talk us through the commentary box. Obviously some COVID dramas in the last 24 hours. I understand all other commentators have tested negative after there was a positive case late last night.
Yeah, crazy day. I woke up to a few messages this morning. So all the commentators and everyone else went through the protocols this morning, had tested. And everything came back negative, so we were allowed to come into the ground halfway through the day. So, yeah, strange start to the day.
We had just about everything today, on field and off field. Jimmy Anderson was brilliant today, but Starc and Boland at the end there dragged it back to the Aussies. Is there still hope for England?
Just an insane day, wasn't it? If there was any hope for England, it was going to be tonight. If they could get through maybe 1 down, but now they're 4 down, so they still trail by 51, so you'd say no. But a great fight back from England, but just towards the end, that last half an hour was all Australia, so it's probably taken it away from England again.
Thanks to Greg Blewett there. Meantime, A-League clubs will be able to postpone games if there are 5 or more players ruled out through a positive COVID case. Melbourne Victory's resurgence continued last night, shooting to the top of the A-League ladder with a 3-1 win over Western United.
Wooden Spooners last season are now making an early statement. The Victory are on the charge.
Josh Brillante! 2 goals in a minute for Melbourne Victory, and now it's the captain who delivers.
Western United pegged one back in the 87th minute, but there was no stopping the powerhouse climb back to the top.
D'Agostino! That'll do it for Melbourne Victory.
I thought first half was very good. I thought we played some great stuff first half, and second half maybe shows how far we got to go.
It was an absolute goal fest in the Premier League. Manchester City scoring 4 in the opening 25 minutes against Leicester City. The Foxes came back to 4-3 before City claimed a 6-3 win, opening a 6-point gap over Liverpool on top of the ladder.
And it's touched in by Sterling. And that will settle the game in Manchester City's favour.
Romelu Lukaku came off the bench to inspire Chelsea's 3-1 comeback win over Aston Villa. The Blues also 6 points behind Man City. Arsenal are 12 off the pace in 4th after a clinical 4-0 victory over rock-bottom Norwich. The snow was no worries for the Bears. Snow Angels in the end zone and a 1-point win over Seattle clinched in the final minute. And the Cowboys got on a tear, scoring 6 touchdowns in a 56-14 rout against Washington, who turned on each other.
College teammates as well. Whoa.
They weren't in a festive mood either in the NBA as Joel Embiid and Montrezl Harrell clashed.
Now Harrell almost tackles him, and watch out!
Philly thumping Washington 117-96, while Melbourne's Josh Giddey helped the Thunder beat New Orleans by 5. Tim Hipsley, 7 News.
Mike, that's all from the MCG. There was just over 40,000 here today, but it sounded like 100 when Scotty Boland took those 2 wickets in and over. Hopefully the Aussies can wrap up the Ashes tomorrow here.
Yeah, let's hope. Thanks, Macca. Sonia Marinelli is next with the forecast. And Sonia, we've got a severe heat wave on the way.
We do, Mike. Beach weather returns later in the week, but it does come with a warning. And I'll have those details next. Hello again on this last Monday of the year. The mercury was slow to get moving in a southerly wind, but it finally kicked into gear. And after dipping to 14 overnight, we settled on 23.3. There was still a fair bit of cloud hanging around today, and the wind is cool, especially coming off the bay. So even though it's sitting on 19 degrees in Werribee right now, it does feel a good 6 degrees colder out there in the elements. Coastal Victoria is cool too under a southerly, but if you're down the beach, hang tight. The summer heat is set to make its comeback. So right now we are under a broad area of high pressure. The centre of the high will start to move out to the Tasman tomorrow, bathing the state in warm northerlies from Thursday onwards, and will stay in this holding pattern until the end of the week. But an alert has been issued with severe heatwave conditions forecast for most of the state over the New Year holiday, so do take care. It's a dry forecast in Victoria, but in Brisbane, clearing showers tomorrow and the chance of a shower for those in Sydney. Back home, there is the chance of early fog in the south and east, then a mild to warm Tuesday statewide. Lots of sunshine right across the board, but we're still in that cool southeasterly airflow, the wind not warming until Thursday. Melbourne's northeastern suburbs could see some early morning fog, lifting to sunny skies right around the city, but still in that cool wind. So in Essendon tomorrow, 25 degrees, Watsonia and Scoresby 26, Frankston 25, 23 degrees for those in Rosebud. In the city, a low of 12 degrees, top of 24 in lots of sun. We'll head to 24 degrees again on Wednesday, then we jump to 32 on Thursday in warm winds. We're up to 34 degrees on New Year's Eve, rising to 36 on New Year's Day. Then we drop down to 30 on Sunday and then further to 25 degrees on Monday, Mike, but it's still looking really good. I bet you've got a big night planned on New Year's Eve, haven't you?
Sleep by 9 o'clock. Thanks, Son. Now let's take a look at what's on Sunrise tomorrow.
Thanks, Mike. Tomorrow on Sunrise, cashing in on the property boom.
From across town to interstate, why buying outside your comfort zone could be the key.
Don't miss the expert advice for making it happen. See you in the morning, Melbourne.
And that's 7 News. We'll have updates throughout the evening. For now, from the team, have a great night.